Have you ever wondered whether the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place?
Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your hosts Brian Berneman and Kayla Greenville, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world.
We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers.
From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host, and for this episode, I wanted to talk about what can we bring anytime that we have times like end of the year or a new year, when there's times that some might call portal times, our birthdays, the equinox, the solstice, any times that might have a moment where we in our minds can say, okay, this is a time that now something starts or something ends. And when we have a new year, as I am recording this, we can take the time to prioritize setting intentions, prioritize some practices, prioritize resolutions, prioritize different things. And what I wanted to focus on is on what I prioritize, that is practices. For me, having practices is key, because practices are the things that I do day in and day out, that then they become my habitual patterns. I don't really have to think about them anymore. I do them with intention. I do them being present and connected, yet I don't have to think too much about it. I don't have to put too much energy as I would as I'm starting, as I am building it, as I am changing my ways. When we, as society, when we have a new year, we do practices of resolutions, of setting intentions. Sometimes they are not something that might happen. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. There's different reasons why that happens or doesn't happen. But one of the key things as well there is that when we are setting that type of intention or that resolution, we need to understand also how do we relate to expectations in that sense. What if we don't achieve that? How do we relate to that? When we set up to do a different practice, like let's say we want to make an intention that for the year 2022 we are going to practice every day at least 5 minutes of yoga or movement or sitting meditation. And when we do that, we understand this is a practice. This is something that most likely we haven't done it, or we haven't done it in that way, which means that there's a learning curve. It doesn't have to happen every single day. It doesn't have to happen perfectly, whatever that perfectly in our mind is. And having an understanding that, okay, this is a practice. This is something that one day it's going to go really well. Little by little it's going to get better. Some days it's going to not be that great. That is something that is manageable, something that we can intend to do. So my encouragement to you is for this year 2022, regardless of when you're listening to this, even if it's later in the year or in another year, what are the practices that you are wanting to continue to carry on, that you already do? And what are the practices that you want to incorporate? And I always recommend Start with one. Don't overwhelm yourself. Do something that you know that you can achieve. If you want to add on that, perfectly okay. We are all different. We all do things at our own time, our own way. Yet when we just take one step, it makes it easier than to take 5 steps at a time. I know for me, my practices have been key to my understanding of myself and how I relate and connect to others, to myself, to the environment, to the earth. Being able to understand the importance of that practice has been key. As one of my teachers used to say, to have discipline, you need to find the right discipline. I found it in some of my practices. I found it in my meditation practice. I found it in my movement meditation practice or yoga practice. And I actually was doing a little bit of a search on the calendar of how long I have been doing consecutively my meditation practice. And it's been over 3,400 days. And that's something that A, I have no idea until I looked at it the other day. But B, also, there's a lot of learnings that I took from all of this time of having a meditation practice and having that discipline of every single day, no matter what was happening, no matter the circumstance, no matter if it was a day that I was working, a day that it was the weekend, a day that it was on holidays, traveling, it doesn't matter. I took time to practice. And now, that practice took a lot of different forms in a lot of different ways just because of that. Some days I was on retreat, which meant that I was able to practice the entire day. Some days I did multiple hours. Some days I just did 10 minutes as soon as I woke up in bed, and that was it. Throughout my time practicing every single day for at least 10-15 minutes of intentional practice, that has led me to be able to not have to really practice, in a sense, not have to sit to meditate, to be able to maintain that level of awareness, to be able to stay connected, because I am much more used to that. I have been really fortunate to be able to do these practices, to be able to learn them from a younger age, to be able to allow them to become part of my life, to be able to have different teachers and mentors to give me tools and give me some feedback and give me understanding and wisdom that allowed me to carry on with my practice, to understand that it was perfectly okay anytime that I was thinking in my practice, anytime that I just went somewhere else and wasn't fully connected. That's part of the practice. It's not about perfection, it's about the practice. And keeping that discipline has been key. Now, that doesn't need to be meditation for you. It can be another way of connecting. It can be going for a run every single day, doing some exercise, going to the gym, going to play football or rugby or tennis or whatever it is, your thing. How do you connect? And setting that intention to practice and keeping ourselves accountable for that, and potentially letting others know about it. A, for them to keep us accountable, but also B, so that we can give and can create good boundaries. Because if, for example, my practice involves time by myself, I need to be able to tell others that I need that amount of time, whatever we set out by ourselves. every single day. If we need quiet, then we can communicate that and we can let others know. It makes it much more easy when others in our life, in our household, know what are our practices and what are the things that we are intending to do. So as I am here at the start of 2022, this new year, and I intend to keep on my practices, I also look back. I do this every single new year, every single birthday. My birthday is just one day away on the 30th of December. I look back throughout the year and even beyond, being grateful that I'm still here and looking at all of the things that I went through, all of the learnings, all of the growth that happened, all of the challenges that I overcame, noticing how things that potentially in a moment seemed really big, when time goes by they're not as big, noticing how things that didn't seem to matter at that time potentially are now important looking back, noticing how fortunate I am to be alive, to be well, to be healthy, to be connected with so many amazing people, to be able to live a life full of joy and happiness and love, and to be able to be me, to be able to live life the way that I want to. How fortunate and privileged that is in a world where not many are able to do that. Whether that is because of their circumstances, their level of awareness, or whatever it is, not many can say that. I know the position that I am, and I am grateful for that. And when I am in that space, in that energy of gratitude and deep appreciation, that touches my heart, that opens up my heart. And that same frequency, that same vibration is where I set the practices for this coming year. I set some of my goals, my visions, how I want to feel, the experiences that I want to have, the connections that I want to have. And then letting all of that go, allowing the flow of life as well to take over, to be present. I love to plan, yet at the same time, I love to be present and to allow the energy to take me places. And this is key to know. Are you like that? Or do you prefer to know everything in advance? Do you prefer to plan every single thing? When you understand the way that works better for you, everything is easier. When you allow yourself to do things the way that you want them, not how anybody else wants, or things that seem to work but it's for others, you start to be more aligned, things start to flow a little bit more. And that doesn't mean that everything in life is going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that you're going to get everything that you're looking from other people, because perhaps that's not what you're supposed to get or the way that you're supposed to be. Going in, allowing the time to connect with what it is that you really want to experience and to feel during this coming year. What are the practices that you're going to carry on or to introduce this year, knowing that there's no failing, there's only doing and learning. There is no way that you can fail. This is something for me that has been key. My intention or my expectation might not be met. That doesn't mean that I failed. That means that I might need to readjust, do things differently, plan differently, have different expectations. When I understand that and I understand practices, then I can allow myself to do that. I can be gentle with myself. I don't expect a kid to be an expert on a topic that they are just learning at school. So why would I expect myself to be whatever that perfect is in whatever practice I want to practice, especially from day one, even if it's on day like 300, 3,400, for whatever number it is that I am now with my practice and consecutive days. When we are kind to ourselves, when we are soft and gentle, we touch those places in ourselves that make us feel alive, allowing us to be aligned with the flow of life. So once again, what are the practices that you are wanting to bring and cultivate in this new year? Let us know. Send us a message, comment wherever you find this episode. Share the practices. Perhaps they might help or they might spark an idea on someone else. What are the practices that you're bringing into this new year? Thank you. Hope that everybody has the best year based on where you are and based off what you are intending for this 2022.
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.